The self. The central archetype of wholeness. The totality of who you are, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, united at last. You have always been searching for something you cannot name, a completeness that eludes you, a wholeness you feel but cannot grasp. You are fragmented. Your shadow is exiled. Your persona is a mask. Your anima or animus is suppressed. Each part of you lives in isolation. There is a center you have not found. A core that holds all your contradictions. A point of stillness within the storm of your becoming. Jung discovered the self. Not the ego. Not the personality. Something far greater, the archetype of wholeness that transcends all the parts.
The self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference, embracing both conscious and unconscious.
The ego is not the self. The ego is a fragment. The self is the totality. The ego is what you think you are. The self is what you actually are. The mandala is the face of the self. Jung saw them in the dreams of his patients. Circles of wholeness. Maps of the psyche returning to its center. The circle is unity. The square is stability. Together they form the archetype of wholeness, the self that integrates all opposites into a living paradox. The East knew the self before the West had a name for it. The Atman of the Upanishads. The Buddha nature. The Tao. All pointing to the same wholeness. The alchemists were searching for the self. The Philosopher's Stone was never about gold. It was about the golden wholeness within the self realized through transformation. The lapis philosophorum, the stone of the wise. Jung decoded its meaning. It was never a physical substance. It was the self, emerging from the chaos of the unconscious. The coniunctio, the sacred marriage. Sun and moon. King and queen. Conscious and unconscious. When the opposites unite, the self is born.
Individuation is the process by which a person becomes a psychological individual, a separate indivisible unity or whole.
The self appears in dreams. As a wise old man. As a great mother. As a divine child. As a mandala. It speaks in symbols because it is too vast for words. The wise old man is the self speaking. He appears when the ego has reached its limit. He offers guidance from a place deeper than thought. The great mother is the self-embracing. She contains all things. She nurtures and devours. She is the womb and the tomb. The circle of becoming. The divine child is the self-beginning. The symbol of new potential. The promise that wholeness is not an ending but a birth, something eternally becoming. Act 1. The search for wholeness. The journey to the self is a journey inward. Not upward. Not outward. Inward. Through the layers of persona. Through the territory of shadow. Through the realm of anima and animus. You must embrace your shadow. Not defeat it. Not transcend it. Embrace it. The self cannot exist without the shadow. Wholeness includes the darkness you fear. The mask must dissolve. Not be ripped away, that would wound. The persona must soften, become transparent, until the self can be seen through it. The opposite within must be welcomed. The anima in the man, the animus in the woman. Until the inner marriage is complete, the self remains unborn. The transcendent function. Jung's name for the psychological mechanism that unites opposites. Not compromise. Not surrender. A new third position that transcends both.
Without the opposites there is no approach to wholeness. The tension of opposites is the very stuff of life.
Synchronicity is the self speaking. Meaningful coincidence. The universe arranging itself around your becoming. When the self moves, the world responds. Before wholeness comes darkness. The nigraduk. The blackening. The death of the old self. Without this dissolution, nothing new can emerge. Then comes purification. The albedo. The washing. The ego's illusions dissolve. What remains is cleaner, clearer, closer to the truth of who you are. Act 2. The journey of individuation. And finally, the golden fire. The rubedug. The reddening. The self-realized. Not purified, integrated. Not cleansed whole. The gold that was always there, revealed at last. Individuation is not perfection. It is not becoming flawless. It is becoming whole, which means including your flaws, your wounds, your scars. The self is not a perfect circle. It is a circle that contains everything. The self is a living paradox. It is the center and the circumference. The one and the many. The eternal and the changing. You cannot think your way to it. You can only become it. The self lives in the body. Not just the mind. Jung warned against spiritualizing the self away from the flesh. Wholeness is embodied. The self breathes through your hands, your heartbeat, your gut. The self appears in relationship, not in isolation. Jung said individuation is not a solitary process. We see ourselves reflected in the eyes of others. The other is a mirror of the self.
The only journey is the one within. All other paths lead back to this one.
The midlife crisis is the self knocking. The persona that worked for 30 years suddenly crumbles. Not because you are broken. Because the self is demanding to be heard. The dark night of the soul. When the ego surrenders. When every identity collapses. When you stand naked before the void and the void speaks back. This is the self's most terrifying gift. But the self always returns. After the darkness. After the dissolution. After the death of everything you thought you were. The self is what remains when everything else is stripped away. The Christ is a symbol of the self. The death and resurrection. The sacrifice of the ego. The rebirth into wholeness. Jung saw in Christianity the ultimate map of individuation if you can read it symbolically. The Buddha is another face of the self. The one who awoke. The ego dissolved into the vastness. Not annihilation, completion. The circle closed at last. The self is not God, but it is the image of God within. Jung was clear, the self is an archetype, not a theological claim. Yet it points towards something transcendent. Something the religions have always known. Meaning is the self's language. When you feel your life has meaning, the self is present. When meaning collapses, the self has been lost. The search for meaning is the search for the self. Beware the inflation of the ego. When the ego identifies with the self, it swells with dangerous grandiosity. You are not the self. You are an expression of the self. The difference is everything. True wholeness is humble. The self does not announce itself with fanfares. It arrives in the quiet moment when you stop pretending and simply are. The most powerful archetype is also the most silent.
The self is the goal of individuation, but it is also the beginning, for the self was always there, waiting to be realized.
The individuated person serves the collective. Not through conformity. Through authenticity. A whole person is a gift to the world. A fragmented person spreads their fragmentation. The self speaks through nature. The spiral of the nautilus. The symmetry of the flower. The fractal branching of trees. Nature is the self made visible if you know how to look. The self speaks through art. Every great work of art is a mandala. Every symphony is a journey from fragmentation to wholeness. Every story is the story of individuation. The modern world has lost the self. We worship the ego. We celebrate the persona. We fear the shadow. We mock the anima. And the self, the center that holds it all, has been forgotten. The digital age fragments the self. Your online self. Your work self. Your family self. Your social media self. Each identity a shard. The mandala is shattered into 1,000 profiles. The algorithm does not know the self. It knows your behavior, your preferences, your clicks. But it cannot fathom the center that holds your contradictions together. The self is deeper than data. The attention economy destroys the center. It pulls you outward, 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 until you forget there ever was an inward. The self requires stillness. Stillness is not profitable. Spiritual bypass is not the self. Meditation apps, crystal healing, positive thinking. These can be tools. But they can also be escapes. The self requires descent, not just ascent. The self is connected to the collective unconscious. You are not alone in your journey. The same archetypes appear in every culture, every era, every soul. The self is the bridge between the personal and the universal. The anima mundi, the world soul. The alchemists believed the world itself has a self. That the cosmos is alive, conscious, becoming. And your individuation is part of the world's individuation.
I have had to experience so much stupidity, so many failures, so much disgust, so much nonsense, and I had to know that the self is not the ego.
The shadow does not disappear when the self emerges. It is included. It becomes a trusted companion rather than a terrifying stranger. Wholeness does not eliminate darkness, it integrates it. The persona becomes a choice. Not a compulsion. Not a prison. A garment you put on when needed and take off when alone. The self wears the persona no longer wears you. Act 3. The realization. The inner marriage is complete. The anima and animus are not suppressed but integrated. The masculine and feminine within dance together. You are no longer half a soul pretending to be whole. In Antiodromia, the turning of the tide. Jung borrowed this from Heraclitus. When anything reaches its extreme, it becomes its opposite. The self is the still point where the turning happens. The self exists outside time. It was whole before you were born. It will be whole after you die. Your individuation is the process of the eternal self becoming conscious within the temporal you. Suffering is the birthplace of the self. Jung did not romanticize pain, but he observed that the deepest transformations come through the darkest passages. The self is forged in the fires of what you survive. Love is the self's greatest expression. Not sentimental love. Not possessive love. The love that sees the self in the other. The love that recognizes, I am whole, and so are you, and together we are more than either. The self confronts death. Not with denial. Not with terror. With the awareness that wholeness includes the end. The mandala is drawn in sand because the self knows, everything passes, and everything returns. The eye on the eternal self. Jung's last great work explored the 2-million-year-old self. The self that was old before humanity was young. The archetype that contains all other archetypes. The quaternity is the self structure. 4 elements. 4 functions. 4 archetypes. Shadow, persona, anima, self. The mandala's 4 gates. The cross's 4 arms. Wholeness has a geometry. The 5th is the center. The point where the 4 meet. The self is not one of the 4, it is the 5th that emerges from their union. The center of the mandala. The still point of the turning world. The self is the religious function of the psyche. Not religion as dogma. Religion as the soul's natural movement toward wholeness. The self is what makes us reach for the sacred, whether we call it God or not. Active imagination is the self's method. Jung's technique for dialoguing with the unconscious. Not fantasy. Not daydreaming. A disciplined encounter with the deeper self that lives within your images. Society fears the individuated person. A whole person cannot be controlled. Cannot be manipulated. Cannot be made to conform. The self is the ultimate act of rebellion against a world that wants you fragmented. The self is not a destination. It is not an achievement. It is a process. An ongoing becoming. You do not arrive at the self. You live from the self. Each day a new encounter with wholeness.
Whoever looks outside, dreams. Whoever looks inside, awakens.
The self returns to the ordinary. The individuated person does not live on a mountaintop. They live in the world. But they live from a different center. The same life, transformed from within. The mandala is hidden in everyday life. In the rhythm of your breath. In the pattern of your relationships. In the choices you make when no one is watching. The self is always there, waiting to be noticed. The self is inherited and transmitted. Your individuation is not just for you. It shapes what you pass on. The unhealed wound becomes the next generation's shadow. The realized self becomes their foundation. The epiphany. The moment when all the fragments align. When shadow and light, masculine and feminine, conscious and unconscious, all converge into a single point of recognition. This is who I am. This is the self. The self is always beginning and always complete. You never finish individuating. And yet, in every moment of genuine presence, the self is fully there. The journey is the destination. The circle is always closing, and never closed. 4 archetypes. 1 wholeness. The shadow that you embraced. The persona that became transparent. The anima and animus that you married within. And the self, the center that was always there, waiting for you to arrive.
The self is a mandala by nature, a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere.
The choice is yours. To remain fragmented. To let the ego pretend it is the whole. Or to begin the long journey inward through shadow, through persona, through the hidden other to the self that waits at the center. But remember the danger. The self is not the ego amplified. It is not spiritual superiority. It is not enlightenment as an achievement. The moment you say I have arrived, you have lost it. The self is humility disguised as grandeur. The self is the promise. Not that you will be perfect. Not that you will never suffer again. But that you can be whole. That every fragment has a place. That the center holds. That wholeness is not a fantasy, it is your deepest nature. The shadow. The persona. The anima. The self. 4 faces of one psyche. 4 chapters of one story. 4 archetypes of power. And at the center you. Whole at last. We began in shadow, the darkness you refused to see. We passed through the persona, the mask you wear. We encountered the anima and animus, the other within. And now we arrive at the self, the wholeness that was always waiting. The mandala is complete. Not finished, it is never finished. But complete in this moment. Every shadow included. Every mask made transparent. Every opposite married. And at the center the golden light that was always there. Now the journey is yours. Not as a concept. Not as a theory. As a living practice. Go inward. Face your shadow. Soften your persona. Embrace your opposite. And discover the self that has been waiting for you since before you were born.
Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens.
The self is the center that holds. When everything falls apart, the self remains. When every identity crumbles, the self endures. When the mandala shatters, the self draws it again. You are the mandala. You are the center. You are the self. Archetypes of Power. Episode 4, The Self. The journey continues within.